Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the brand new expansion DLC for Resident Evil Village, the Shadows of Rose, or the Winters expansion. And I just finished up the DLC storyline, Shadow of Rose, today. I've played a couple hours of the new third-person mode, which they've entered into the game. Added to the game. It's pretty late when I'm recording this, so I do apologize if I'm a little hazy here, but I really want to get my opinions down before it got too late. So the main big thing about this Winters expansion is that it comes with a DLC called The Shadows of Rose, which features a small storyline featuring Rose Winters, Ethan Winters' daughter, who we spent the entirety of Resident Evil Village trying to save. She's now 16 years old, and apparently she is just tired of living with these so-called powers that she's had for her entire life. And she finds out that there might be a way to get rid of them if she hops into the subconscious mind of the Megamycete. Once in, she has to take care of a couple challenges, puzzles, and essentially beat a couple bosses in order to get her powers erased by this purifying crystal, which appears in the subconscious of the Megamycete. To be honest with you, the story is kind of odd. The fact that this story doesn't even take place in the real world, it takes place in a fake world, gives me huge Evil Within vibes. The more and more I thought about it, this just felt like it could have been the Evil Within 3 instead of a typical Resident Evil game. What also sets this game apart from a typical Resident Evil is that Rose does have powers, like I mentioned earlier. She has this type of stasis ability almost, where she's able to attack pods of black mold and also these mold-like creatures, freezing them temporarily so you can attack or run away. Besides the powers, it is pretty much your basic run-of-the-mill Resident Evil. You collect a few weapons, solve some puzzles, manage resources to fight the never-ending onslaught of nightmares that happen in this mansion or house or tomb or many places that you have to go through in this DLC. Along your journey, you will be working with a magical being who writes in golden letters on the wall, who he tells you to call him Michael, your guardian angel. Without going into spoilers, you can pretty quickly tell who Michael is, and that's as far as I'll go with that. I absolutely loved Resident Evil Village last year, and it was my game of the year. So I was so excited to hop into this DLC and continue the story of the Winters family. This being pretty surprising after Capcom said this was going to conclude the Winters saga in the Resident Evil universe, which to me was odd because Resident Evil 7 and 8 featured both of them featured Ethan as the protagonist. But we aren't going to get Resident Evil 9 with Rose? I feel like that's what the ending to Resident Evil Village set up, but who knows? We might. She might just be a side character, or who knows? She could be the new main character, which I kinda hope so after this. I was really hoping to learn a bit more about Rose and her backstory and how she grew up with these special powers that she keeps calling a curse. But they really don't go into that with this DLC. Overall, I beat the DLC in about 3 hours, and this was after I had died many times trying to solve puzzles or fighting against certain enemies. So after a year and a half of waiting, I was really hoping to get a bit more out of this. See Rose at school being picked on by kids, or all the problems and trouble she had to grow up with. And you don't see that, unfortunately. Now, you do get to read diary entries and little notes about Rose's past and how she was bullied in high school because she I guess not high school, elementary school, middle school, because apparently she sweat white sweat People called her stinky, her words, and gross. And it's just, I guess, like, one part of the game even talks about how she was, had these two best girl pals, and all of a sudden they must have turned their back on her and, almost tried to burn her. Like, it's weird. I didn't quite understand what they were trying to get at one part in the game. You'll have to just play it for yourself. Little nitpicks aside, overall, I think the game is pretty darn fun. You go to a couple different locations, and playing the game in third person with Rose was quite a bit different after playing it first person with Ethan the first time. The new combat mechanics are really cool. The enemies are super terrifying, and I genuinely felt fear playing this game again. There are certain scenes or certain parts in the game that absolutely made me jump. It made my roommate jump while we were watching it. In fact, after playing some of those scenes, I felt terrified walking around in my house in the dark. But I have to admit, I am a little bit let down with this being only, I beat it in 3 hours, and that, like I said, that's after me dying quite a bit. The combat's pretty shallow because you only have 2 weapons. You have your handgun and you have your shotgun. You have your stasis abilities, which only work on the pods and a couple of the enemies you fight. Like, I get it. Rose isn't a hardened soldier like Ethan was trained to be, and Chris and Leon. But I guess I was hoping for a little bit more depth in the combat. Another complaint I have is that most of this game is reused assets of Resident Evil Village, like a lot of reused locations, like Lady D's castle, the Puppeteer's house. Even using the same backdrop shot of the village from when Ethan first saw it, they reused that as well. Overall, I just feel like the game uses way too much stuff from the original and not a lot of new locations. One thing I loved was they brought back the Baron/Merchant to be one of the main antagonists in this DLC, and I loved him in the main game as a good guy, but holy crap, he is a creep in this game, and he plays the villain very well. Why I don't think this is really the end of the Winters saga is that this game really didn't answer any questions about what powers does Rose actually have. Like, they didn't confirm, nor did they deny that her powers that she shows off in this subconscious world are her powers in real life. All they really talked about was how she had white sweat. You see that these veins growing on her hands. I would have really liked to see what her powers are in the real world, if they are any different. Like I said, I would have liked to see more of like her backstory of like growing up with Mia without Ethan around. You really don't even see, you don't actually see Mia in this game at all. The ending was also literally the same ending from Resident Evil Village, down to the fact of seeing the person walking besides the road. So I don't understand the point of this DLC. Yes, it was fun, but it really didn't answer any questions. In fact, it gave me more questions. Overall, I think the Shadow of Rose DLC is solid, but it felt rushed, and I was hoping for a bit more. Now, of course, that's not the only thing you get in the Winters expansion. You unlock third-person mode for the entirety of the Resident Evil Village's campaign. Now, I have grown to really like this mode after replaying Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake. It's really fun. It gives you a whole new perspective of the game. You find out there's new animations that are done for little things like turning levers and opening doors, and it's really neat. The problem is, though, that early on, when Ethan's walking through the forest, he walks through tree branches and any low-hanging object that normally you would duck under or you wouldn't see in the first-person mode. you purposely see now, and the fact that all the cutscenes are still in first person, so you'll be walking around as Ethan in third person and then just get pulled right back into the cutscenes in first person. Now, I was really hoping they would redo the cutscenes so like they could be done in third person, but maybe that was just asking a bit too much. And the final piece of this expansion was the Mercenaries mode additions, which you can play now as Lady D and Heisenberg, which I don't play Mercenaries, so this didn't appeal to me whatsoever. But hey, more content for Mercenaries. Overall, this entire 3-piece bundle will cost you about $20 US. And to be honest, yeah, I'd say $20 is fair. Like I said, I do wish the Shadow of Rose had a bit more content, even just some cutscenes talking about Rose's past and how she grew up without a father. And the third person's really cool. I just wish they would have tuned the game to actually play around the third person mechanic a bit more. And of course, the Mercenaries mode for those who are interested. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video, and I will see you next time. Take care.